各位傳媒朋友早晨，多謝大家今朝嚟呢個記者會。因為疫情關係啦，請大家喺記者會入邊咧都係時刻佩戴口罩啦，同埋盡量保持距離。今日行政長官冇特別嘅開場發言，所以我哋直接進入呢個提問時間。請希望提問嘅記者咧先舉手，嗌到你之後咧先介紹你嘅傳媒機構，然之後用我哋俾你嘅咪發問。右手邊嗰位女記者先。
Good morning, Mrs. Lang. I'm Nadia from SCMP. So analysts said that under Beijing's plan, which includes vetting committee and higher nomination threshold, could eliminate the diversity in Hong Kong's politics. Will you be leading the promotion campaign, as some media reports suggest? And what would you say to residents who felt that the reform was a retrogression in democracy and was no longer interested in voting anymore? Second, when will the biotech vaccination be resumed, and what is the progress with Foshan at this moment? What more incentive that the government would offer to citizens to have enough confidence on these two vaccines? And third, RTHK used to be one of the few broadcasters in Hong Kong which produce high-quality intellectual talk shows and documentaries. Do you think that its new director was overkilling as different kinds of shows were being suspended one after the other? Would it be in Hong Kong residents' disadvantage as this quality TV show are being censored? Thank you.
Thank you for the three questions. First of all, as you are all aware, the National People's Congress Standing Committee is meeting yesterday and today at its 27th meeting. And one of the main subjects being deliberated on is the improvements to the electoral system of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region in accordance with the decision made by the National People's Congress earlier in the month. So I'm not in a position to disclose any details before the NPCSC has decided on the amendments to Annex 1 and Annex 2, except to stress that the purpose of the improvements to the electoral system is to make sure that Hong Kong's electoral system is in line with the very important principle of one country, two systems, and to ensure that it is patriots administering Hong Kong, so that we could be assured of Hong Kong's stability and prosperity. So without the details, it is very difficult to answer your other very specific questions, but I can perhaps give you a advance notice that assuming the NPCSC will announce its decision later today, I will hold a press conference to explain the decision's content, to announce the follow-up work by the Hong Kong SAR government, and to answer any other queries that you may have. Because when I said that I and the Hong Kong SAR government fully welcome and support the decision, as well as the amendments to be made by the NPCSC, we are committed to do a few things. One is we have a duty to explain to the people of Hong Kong why these improvements are needed. Second, we have to complete within a very tight timetable the local legislation to put into effect the amended version of Annex 1 and Annex 2. And finally, is we have to actually conduct the three sets of elections in the next 12 months. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I am prepared to explain in more details later on. Now, the second question about vaccination. As far as the vaccine BioNTech, I believe the Secretary for Food and Health has already explained at her media stand-up yesterday that the initial or the preliminary investigation by the manufacturer does not indicate any problem in the quality or the efficacy of the vaccine. It's the packaging and perhaps the transportation. And we very much hope to have the final report as soon as possible, and the alternative, either in terms of supply or certification, to enable us to resume the vaccination of BioNTech, especially for those people who have already taken the first dose, to complete the second dose of vaccination. But you will have to wait for the details to be announced. As far as more incentives, I believe the Secretary has also given some indication yesterday. As I said on this occasion last week, the best incentive is to protect yourself and to protect your family members by taking this vaccine. But if people want to see the more tangible effects or the tangible benefits of taking the vaccine, then the Secretary has outlined several things. One is, of course, at the moment, the government does mandate the taking of a COVID-19 test at regular intervals for certain groups of people. For example, the care staff at the residential elderly homes, for example, the staff of restaurants that want to open for dining in the evening, and also if schools want to resume 100% half-day face-to-face classes, then the teachers and the staff have to take this COVID-19 test on a regular basis. So the first tangible incentive is if somebody is fully vaccinated, which means that he or she has taken the 2 doses of whichever vaccine, and then wait for a period of 2 weeks, then this having been vaccinated will be a good substitute for the regular COVID-19 test. So I have already heard the catering sector representatives saying in public that this is a good enough incentive because going for a COVID-19 test once every 14 days is still quite troublesome for the staff and also for the restaurant operator. So this is one illustration of the incentive. The second incentive is for visitation. I feel very sorry for family members who have not been able to visit their elderly in the elderly homes or their relatives in hospital. So with vaccination by the visitors going into to visit their family members in the elderly homes, in the hospitals, this will also be a very tangible benefit if they have been fully vaccinated. And on top of that, upon admission into the hospital or the elderly home, if they are willing to take another rapid test, the antigen test, then we will facilitate visitation, which to many people is very, very important after a long period of 14 months. The third incentive, of course, is in traveling. Now, several countries have already been talking about they will give a facilitation and reduce quarantine arrangement for people who have been vaccinated. So again, this is a very tangible incentive, as I'm sure many Hong Kong people are longing for traveling to places that they love to go previously. So these are all the incentives that we are considering we will put in place when the vaccination has taken place. But I must make another appeal here, that is people should come forward to receive the vaccination. We have now already expanded the priority groups to anybody aged 30 and over, and that is quite an exceptional treatment compared to other places. Other places are still injecting the jab for people who are 50 and above, or the high-risk groups, or the healthcare. But we have this extensive government vaccination program in place because we have sufficient supply. We have good infrastructure. We have enough staff to serve the people. So please come forward and take the vaccine so that we together could build up a herd immunity in Hong Kong for Hong Kong to go back to normal as soon as possible. Now, the final question about RTHK. Yes, RTHK is a public broadcaster. Over the years has produced programs which we all love. But RTHK is also a government department. Whether it's a government department or a public broadcaster, RTHK has to follow rules and regulations and guidelines. And particularly in RTHKs, they have signed a charter, not only with the government, but also with the Broadcasting Authority. And within the charter, they have several rules they have to follow. So it is for us all, including the Director of Broadcasting, to make sure that the rules and regulations in the charter are being followed. And the Director of Broadcasting is not just a department head. He has also been given the mandate and the position and the responsibility as the chief editor. So in other words, whatever programs that come out of RTHK that are not fulfilling or bridging those rules and regulations or even bridging the law, then the Director of Broadcasting has to be held responsible. That's why he has to be very cautious, and I have to recognize what he has done. Since taking office, he has been very conscientious and doing exactly what I expect from a chief editor of RTHK.
下一條提問啦，左手邊前排呢位深色恤衫呢位男記者。
林太早晨啊，蘋果想問翻呢12港人案嗰度呢，因為李宇軒即係被送翻香港之後呢，佢啲屋企人都一直話對佢個現況即係一無所知，亦都好擔心佢嗰個情況。咁啊，亦都唔知道佢而家係咪真係韞咗喺嗰個小欖精神病嗰個治療中心單獨囚禁。咁其實即係從一個人道嘅角度，你可唔可以都即係交代下，其實知唔知道佢嗰個情況係喺邊咧？佢啲家人咁擔心嘅情況，咁佢啲家人亦都唔相信佢會即係話拒絕啲見家人啊，同埋拒絕家人幫佢請律師啊咁。即係點解嗰個成個交代嗰個過程到而家都係即係咁唔清楚咧？警方你覺得可唔可以再交代得清楚啲咧？咁第二就係琴日即係政府財富局就提交個文件啦，就話要收緊嗰個查冊安排。咁但係咧，其實有啲律師啊，同埋即係會計師啊嗰啲咧，都講翻其實呢啲查冊安排咧，其實喺佢哋即係提供服務嘅時候都係必須嘅。咁同埋記者啦，記者協會亦都有講得清楚，就即係話反對你哋呢個收緊啦，因為其實所有嗰啲調查報導都係好需要呢啲嘅資料。咁希望可以即係將嗰個指明人士嗰個定義咧，可以包括埋記者喺入邊，咁方便佢哋可以去繼續查閲啲資料。咁你哋會唔會即係都平衡翻呢邊嗰個要求咧，而唔會純粹話即係要防止啲人被起底，咁就即係傳媒都唔可以查咁。咁最尾咧就係想問埋呢個童軍總會。咁因為上個禮拜六咧就佢哋喺個中心嗰度咧就舉行咗差唔多近100人參加嗰啲聚餐啊聚會啊。咁但係期間呢，即係警方到場調查之後呢，就話佢哋唔受限聚令規管。咁現場人士亦都同我哋講就話，即係佢哋冇入場去調查。咁之後就話佢哋冇違反限聚令。咁其實可唔可以交代下，其實點解會咁樣處理呢？因為其實睇翻而家你哋嗰個要求呢，係話嗰啲聚會係唔可以超過20人嘅，即係喺任何宴會啊、活動啊啲咁。咁呢個同你係身為呢個童軍總會嘅總領袖有冇關係？可唔可以澄清下呢？唔該。
3條問題，好簡單回答嚇。第一咧就係每一位被拘留嘅人士等待上法庭咧，都會被告知佢嘅個人權利，係咪啊？我唔會評論李宇軒呢個個案，但係我可以好肯定話俾你聽咧。我哋嘅執法部門係對於法律嘅持守係非常之嚴肅嘅，咁所以每一位呢啲被拘留嘅人士都被告知佢嘅個人嘅權利譬如係咪想見下家人啊，係咪需要有律師啊咁。但係如果呢位人士唔願意去行使佢個人權利，我哋就要保障佢嘅個人權利係不願意嚇。但係我呢個只係籠統講，我唔想針對呢件事講，因為一開咗先例。特首可以企喺度每個個案講咧，就永無寧日嚇。咁所以我請你大家都尊重嚇，我哋嘅執法嘅部門咧都係依法辦事嚇。但係每個人都有個人嘅權利嘅行使與否嘅自由權嚇。第二個問題咧都係講緊個人嘅問題，個人嘅私隱咧係要受到保護嚇。但係每一件事咧都係有個平衡嘅，如果唔係根本唔應該有查冊。或者有公共資料咧可以公開俾大家知道啦。咁所以本身呢啲公共嘅即係名冊存在已經係一個平衡，就俾有需要嘅人士咧可以去檢視呢啲由個別嘅公司啦、團體啦、個人啦係提交咗俾政府去做某一種，譬如係攞牌啦或者成立公司啦嗰個資料，但係都要做一個平衡。就係要保護佢哋嘅私隱。如果嗰個資料唔係好必要性，咁咪可以嚟到去保護佢咧。而呢啲咧係唔公開嘅嚇。財富局呢個嘅工作就係呢個大嘅前提之下，我喺2月4號嘅立法會嘅答問大會咧，我當時話有5個範疇咧 社會都希望我哋從一個立法嘅角度去研究。其中一個咧就係點樣去保護個人嘅私隱嚇，包括係點樣去防止起底，防止呢個人資料被武器化，以至到喺傳媒嗰度或者喺網上咧發放假消息或者係仇恨嘅言論，一大堆呢啲問題咧係需要處理。其他國家都有處理緊呢啲嘅問題，咁所以我哋就喺呢度處理。而當時咧公共查冊都係其中嘅一環嚇。尤其是有啲公共查冊工作咧，未必需要重新立法。要重新立法一啲就要立法嚇。但係如果係行政嗰方面可以做嘅咧，就係應該可以做嚟到保護翻呢啲個人或者係團體嚇。我已經強調過啦，我睇唔到點解記者要有特權人哋睇唔到嘅嘢，記者要睇到，呢個就係視之為特權香港任何人都冇特權嚇。第三個問題咧就第一，我係好多會嘅名譽嘅領袖、名譽嘅會長我唔會去干預，亦都唔會獲知每一個會每一日發生咗咩事，或者係有啲咩嘅活動舉行但係呢樣嘢係事實嘅求證嚟咧，我建議你咧就去食衞局，因為呢個 Cap 599G 又好 Cap 599E 599乜嘢都好咧，都係食衞局因為公共衛生而定。咁所以究竟一個團體一個活動係符合定係不符合喺公共衛生之下定嘅規矩，係一個事實嘅查證啫。咁所以唔需要由行政長官嚟到去回答，你係可以向有關嘅當局咧去查證
今日最後一條，左手邊前排呢位女記者。
Thank you. This is from Bloomberg. Would you make vaccination compulsory to participate in air travel bubbles with Singapore, mainland China, and other countries? And second question is on electoral reform. Many foreign governments and residents are concerned this will stop any opposition candidates from running. What do you say to those residents who want to vote for pro-democracy candidates but are concerned no one will be allowed to run? Thank you.
The first question about vaccination and traveling. Of course, vaccination will facilitate the resumption of travel to a certain extent. But I'm sure you realize that when we talk about traveling, it's a bilateral thing. Our people have vaccinated, whether the other side would then make life easier for our people to travel to their own country is a matter for them. So what I have asked my colleagues, particularly the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, to revive, to discuss, is what sort of arrangements we could put in place to facilitate bilateral traveling, particularly with Singapore. Because as early as last October, November, we did have a very good scheme called the air travel bubble between Hong Kong and Singapore. But unfortunately, we then have a fourth wave from the second half of November, and that has been suspended. So now that our cases have come down to a very low level, and we start to roll out the government vaccination program, I think it is very good timing to resume the discussion so that people from both places could start to travel again. Whether we will make it mandatory depends on the discussion. If the other side says that, well, you have to make sure that travelers from Hong Kong coming to our place, like Singapore, have to be fully vaccinated, then we will have to tell the people, if you want to benefit from this air travel bubble, you have to be vaccinated. If they don't have that requirement, then we will not make it mandatory. But standing here, I always appeal to Hong Kong people to come forward to receive vaccination because of the benefits to protect themselves, their family members, and community at large. Now, electoral reform. As I said, I'm not in position to talk about details, but I can respond to your question about whether certain types of people with certain political beliefs are still able to run for election. The answer is yes. The whole arrangement to improve the electoral system of the Hong Kong SAR is to ensure that there's patriot administering Hong Kong. They have to fulfill a requirement, which actually is in our electoral laws, that they have to bear allegiance to the Hong Kong SAR and also to uphold the basic law. So the purpose of this electoral reform is this one. So for people who hold different political beliefs, who are more inclined towards more democracy, or who are more conservative, who belong to the left or belong to the right, as long as they meet this very fundamental and basic requirement, I don't see why they could not run for election. That is not only what I say, it has been mentioned by the senior officials in the Central People's Government that this system is not looking for homogeneous candidates. You could have different political stances. As long as you are serving the people of Hong Kong, you are not going to breach national security, then of course you could compete in elections in accordance with the electoral legislation. 多謝晒大家。